Hey everybody, coming to you live from my backyard. As you can see from the cats back there, they're going to be everywhere. Long time no see. I've been sick for like 2 to 3 weeks. It's been terrible. I ain't been able to breathe. I ain't even hardly been able to speak. My throat's been messed up. So, that's why it's been so long since I've been on YouTube. But anyway, I'm back now and I'm going to cover a few things here before we go out and hit the woods, okay? Right now I'm kind of trying to limit my time in the woods because of deer season. Everybody's out there with rifles, and I don't really want to disturb the deer hunters as much because a lot of the areas I go to, there's potential for people to be hunting nearby, okay? So now on with the subject of the day. I'm normally a bushcrafter camper kind of guy. I'm not necessarily a survival type of guy, but every once in a while I'll just invent or create something that I think is just so cool that I want to share and talk about. So first off, let's talk about these little survival blankets, okay? Now they call it a survival blanket, and all it is actually it's just a little piece of Mylar, all right? If anybody's ever actually had to survive with these, I suppose if you had to, you could say they're better than nothing. And I guess they are. They're small, they'll fit in your pocket, but they don't really do a whole lot, okay? Now, the all-weather blanket by a company called Grabber Industries, they have taken the survival / space blanket to a whole nother level, all right? This thing here is reasonably lightweight. Can't remember how much it weighs. What it is, you can get different colors. If you want a bright, obnoxious orange or red, you can get that, or you can get the ever so cool olive drab. But anyway, what it is on the outside, it's a woven type blanket, and on the inside, I know this is going to make the camera flash because the reflective always does. On the inside, the reflective layer, the reflective Mylar layer, and this is not insulative, it's reflective, and what it does is it reflects your body heat back onto you, so you'll wrap up with this thing. Now, this has little eyelets on it. I think it only comes with 4 little bitty eyelets, and I always add eyelets. And on some of them, I add webbing, okay? That is the latest, greatest thing in a survival blanket. So what I'm going to show you is my latest, greatest invention survival blanket. All right, so what this jewel is right here, I made the bag for it. Okay, here's the bag, and here's a shoulder strap. I've sewn on, I added some little plastic pieces here with webbing on each end. Now a little bit of word about this weird looking strap right here. I originally had intended, and I don't know where I put it, I originally intended on just having some webbing with some loops to grab a hold of it, and then that's when the thought occurred to me. I thought, why not make this to be an advantage to where I can have extra paracord. See the amount of paracord I've got looped in there? And see what it is. What it is with this thing is the way you carry it. I have a padded shoulder strap where it goes over your shoulder, and you carry it like this with the paracord right here. One continuous loop, just loop through and through. And what I have done is loop through, all right? This is Velcroed to keep it all together. Because see, it'll all spread out and fall apart if you don't. And what I've done is I've tied it in a knot right here, and wherever I tied it in a knot, see, this piece here is padded and got Velcro in it. And what you do with that, and see, this is something that you could use. You could add this to any of your other bags, but I'm kind of wanting to cover everything on this bag. And so what you do with this is you take this padded piece and you put it over all that, and you close it up, and see, that is how you carry it. Alright, ain't that neat? Now, before I actually get to the survival blanket, I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to show you one other little trick right here. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's the bag, and I'm going to say something real quick about this bag. The bag is made out of the same material that my survival blanket is made out of. Alright? I made the bag when I made the survival blanket, okay? Alright, we've covered the handle. Now, let's pull it out. I have a loop at the top. The material, oh, what I was going to say, the material this is made out of, you would think that it's an olive drab canvas tent type material. But actually what this is, it's an olive drab canvas type material that was a part of a fireproof welding shield. Okay, so this material is fireproof. Now I'm going to go over this blanket here in a minute, but I want to say a few things about, some more things about this bag. If I reach down into the bottom of my bag, there's a few necessities. Now if you were just stuck with the blanket, that's wonderful. It'll work, and I'll explain why in a minute. But down in the bag, I have a folding saw. That's always wonderful because you may want to process some wood with this. Let's throw this down. And then I have a little kit right here. So, pull the kit out. I'm going to aim you down here for a minute, and I'm going to talk about what's in this little kit right here. Reposition so I can show you this a little bit better. And what this is well, I made the bag with just enough room for this little kit down in the bottom. And like I say, the survival blanket is wonderful, but this supplements that kit. Okay, so it's rubber band together. Now, a lot of times you'll see on those survival shows that they'll tell you to carry a container for water. I'm a firm believer that if you can carry two, carry two. Because if you have to, you can have one boiling with water and then one cooling with water to drink, or you can be drinking out of it while the other is boiling. Or if you bring a little supplemental food, you can have food in one, water in the other. Okay, so here's two little bowls, and what I've added in here is a little pack of rice. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of nutrition. Okay, a couple of little instant coffee packets. Doesn't hurt to have a little boost of energy. Multi-tool. Never hurts to have a multi-tool. You don't know what you're going to use it for. This is a little paracord sling for in case you need to sling a rock, you know. Compass. Got to have that. Little bitty flashlight. That'll come in handy. And of course, a ferro rod for fire starting. That's a must-have. And I meant to put a lighter in here, but I didn't put one in. And then a whistle. Okay, so that's just a neat little supplemental kit that is very tiny, and it fits down in the bottom very neatly. All right. Okay, fits down in the bottom. Now, onto the survival blanket next. Onto the blanket. I'm going to switch to a different scene to show the overall blanket because the reflective quality of the inside of it is really going to make the camera blink out. But anyway, what it is the entire blanket. I can't remember what it is. It's a 4x6 or 5x6 or 5x7. I really should have checked, but like I said, this is a project I started a long time ago. And it actually took me getting a different sewing machine to be able to finish this thing. What it is on the inside, well, the outside, it's that fireproof, waterproof canvas material. It's got webbing all along the edges, and then it's got webbing loops sewn onto it, which has many uses. And we're going to go out in the woods, and I'm going to show you some of the setups for this blanket. And on the inside, has the most heavy-duty reflective material on earth. This stuff right here, I mean, these are one, maybe two-time use. These grabber blankets, they're good blankets, but they will wear out. They will puncture. This stuff here is almost impossible to destroy. I mean, if you had this blanket out in the wilderness, it's limitless the amount of time this thing could last. Okay, and I'm going to show you a full blown up view of it in a minute. But what I'm going to show you right here is a little something. The material, there's a company that's called Reflectix. And I think this stuff might be sold as Reflectix. It might be sold as Polymax. But Reflectix is well known for their bubble wrap insulation covered with Mylar. Okay, now a lot of people know Reflectix as that, but they make different different materials. Now what this material is, let's see, I think I've got this cut on. No, it's not cutting on. That's weird. Well, anyway, the Macrovision's not cutting on. But what this is, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is a woven material just like a tarp. There, you can see it right there. See that? It's a very, very, very strong material. This is a piece of it that I had pulled off of it. See, very, very, oh, I finally broke it, but you can see how much it took with such a small piece. That is, and I've tested this stuff, and it's super, super, super strong, and it's very puncture resistant. Can't push a fingernail through it. Now, the reason that I was complaining and saying that it took so long to do this is because there's certain parts of it. This was a little test piece to see that I could even do it, but I had to sew through a layer of canvas and a layer of Mylar and then 3 layers of webbing. So it takes a serious machine and needle, and I broke a lot of needles doing this, but it takes a serious machine and needle to do this. And so finally I got around to doing it, and this blanket will be a one of a kind. I'll probably never make another one because it's so hard to make. Okay, and the thread, never use cotton thread on any outdoor product. Either use nylon or polyester, because the cotton will dry rot from getting wet, cold. I mean, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. It'll dry rot. I used 100% nylon upholstery thread on this. All right. So we have wasted a bunch of time. So I'm going to stand up and show you a full view of the blanket, and then we are going to hit the woods. I found the strap. I was sitting on it. But this is, I didn't make this up. This is just a common strap off a piece of luggage. I think I got it off a bag or something, out of a thrift store or something. And what I was going to do is I was going to, I cut these, when I made this bag, I got these little loops right here, little plastic loops off a bag. And this was going to originally clip on it. And like I say, the idea with this thing here, with all the tons of paracord and the padded piece that velcros, that's an idea that pretty much anybody can transfer to any of their bags that will give you a whole bunch of extra cordage that's really easy access. Because I know everybody likes the survival bracelets, but they take time to unwind and you're kind of limited. With this thing, with the size of these loops, there is no telling how much cordage you could put on it. So now let's show you the blanket. Now I grabbed a tape measure, and the fact that this has so much webbing on it, and the loops, and the fact that it's a heavy canvas and it's this reflective material, I didn't want to get too heavy, too big with it. And there's borderline, it's borderline when you want to call something a blanket or a tarp. So mine I measured, and it is 6 foot by 4.5 foot. Okay, could have been bigger. I don't think it could have been smaller. So, you know, if anybody ever wants to cobble together something similar to this, that's the dimensions that I'm using. And once you see my setups, you'll see this has been reasonably good, you know, to go with. Now, this will accept about a 5-inch diameter log, the loops. All right. And on the 6 foot side, I have 3, 4, 5. I have 5 loops sewn on that side, and then across the 4.5 foot side, it's nothing but webbing. I mean, yeah, just webbing for the edging, and it's sewn all the way through to that. All right, good heavy duty stitching. Okay, and I've got the 5 loops down the other end. All right, so what you have, I'm gonna hold the blanket up. You got loops on one side, canvas on one side. On the other side, all reflective Mylar. Alright? That's basically it. You're going to see, I just showed it for a minute there, you're going to see a whole lot more of this thing from a distance as I'm doing these setups in the woods. Now, I can't remember how many setups I got, 5 or 6 I think, but it's probably limitless. And in the comment section at the end of the video, if there's anything else you can think of that this blanket could be used for, any kind of setup you can think of, put it in a comment section and I'll try it out and I'll see if it works. So, all right, let's fold this jewel up and hop in the truck and head off into the woods and hope we don't get shot. All right, for the rest of this segment, I have a feeling that I'm going to be far away from the camera. Therefore, I'm going to be filming the rest of this segment with my cordless microphone, my handy dandy. And the wind's been blowing pretty hard. Okay, now we're in the woods. We have our survival blanket. Okay, take it off, open it up. Now, first and foremost, it is a survival blanket. Okay, so one of the things that you can do with it is just naturally, you can lay on the ground and just wrap up in it. Okay, lay on the ground, wrap up in it. Simple. I don't have to demonstrate that. Everybody knows how that is. Now, with the placement of these loops, you can take, I'm gonna see if I can film this now. You pull it up over your head and you can take, see, this is where the camera's coming in, the microphone's coming in handy. You take the second and the third loops and you run your arms through it. All right. There's the second. Well, the third and the second, okay? You see I've got my arm through it. And then I'm gonna take the second and the third here. Okay, and what I do with them is I'm running them. I hope the microphone's picking this up. I'm going to run these down to my elbows, okay? All right, so this thing is attached. If I throw the back, which it's so stiff, it's kind of hard to do. Throw the back, and I have this attached to me right here, okay? So what you can do now is you can reach up and grab these loops and hold on to them, and you can walk with them. Pull it forward and hold them together and open you up a spot to where you can see, and then wrap it around your bottom like this, and then you can walk with it. I got just enough room to see. See? And if the rain or the hail or the snow is getting at you, you can travel, and this will conserve your body heat and it will keep you from getting wet. Okay? Looks like something from Star Wars, but it's actually quite effective. Now, the other thing that you can do with it, the other simple setup, is if you're cold and you're weak, let's aim the camera down there at it. I got it in shot. The other thing that you can do is just lay here, okay? Just lay in it. If you're just exhausted, just lay the blanket on the ground and lay in it in a sunny spot and let the sun hit the Mylar, and it'll warm you up like you wouldn't believe. Now, I have tested this in the sun and it works, but you know, I'm trying to avoid the sun because the sun with this thing really affects the camera and dims the shot, okay? And like I said, another thing that you can do with this is you can just cover up. And with the size of it though, the problem with that is you don't just pull this over and this over. You have to kind of scoot over to the side and lay on your stomach and roll over. But that can give you some quick protection, okay? Now, and the other thing that you can do is you can hold up one end and you can use it as a signal device. Okay, now let's move on to some of the more advanced setups that you can do with this thing, and the reason why I have all these loops sewn into this thing. But this is a good chance to give you another big shot of it. All right, let's move right along. Okay, the other little jewel of a trick that you can do is take it and just throw it on the ground. And depending on if it's summer or winter, or if you want to stay warm or if you want to stay cold, whether you put the silver side up or the green side up. I would say that if it's possibly in the summer, you would want to use the green side, and if it's in the winter, flip it over and use the silver side so that the sun will warm you. But I am going to use the green side simply because I don't want it blinding the camera. Okay, so grab you a couple of logs of some kind, okay, whether they're broken off or if you're going to use the saw that's in the bottom of the bag. All right, now fold it over and take the webbing. This may take a minute. And on the one side, okay, I have it folded over here with a log just laying through it. And then on the other side, I'm using both webbing and I'm twisting as I'm pushing it through. Okay, camera's kind of far away, so like I said, I hope you're picking it up. I feel confident that the microphone is picking up. I love this microphone. It's a Movo cordless. The only problem with it is that sometimes you don't know, there's an indicator telling you of when it's communicating with the transmitter, but you don't know if your batteries are dead or not. Okay, now, so what you have here is you have essentially turned your survival blanket into either a stretcher or, as I would use, a bed, because you have one log through this webbing and then one through this other one. And so all you want to do now is find you a nice spot off the ground, whether it's a fallen tree or whatever, and just lay it on it and take a nap. So let's go find a spot. Woo, doggy. Excuse the southern saying. Sure does sound like the wind is picking up. All right, now this looks like a decent spot right here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bed. Let's just find a place to lay it. I got some branches going on right here. Let's pull them out of the way. Now see, this is really, really handy for if you really want to get off the ground. Okay? So, this is a tree that's fallen over recently, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay in this, and it pulls together perfectly comfortable. Now, the thing about this is you can see how my head is low, just like that. I can take the bag it came in and fill it full of leaves and put it as my my pillow. Now the sun is hitting me. If the camera wasn't here, I would turn this around and I would use the silver part of it so that the sun could come down and warm me. But no need for that. All right, sounds good to me. So yeah, there's another setup, and you could just lay it across some logs if you had to. And there's probably several other places up in here that I could set it up. And you could also use the paracord that came with a handle and tie these ends to trees and have you a bed. But I mean, everybody's seen that setup before, but this is just a super handy, fast way of setting up a bed if you need it and you're exhausted and you don't want to put a bunch of energy into creating an elaborate bed. Just grab you some logs, shove them through, and you're good to go. Okay, the other little jewel for this setup, that was the first one. And this will be the second one. So what you want to do now, and see these loops are plenty big enough that they will accept a rather large log. Much larger than that one. Now, what you want to do on this setup is you want to you open the blanket up and you'll want to feed the logs through both sides. just like that. Okay. Now there's going to be 2 setups this way, possibly 3, but I'm going to swap the logs out for the 3rd setup because they need to be a little bit longer. Now the setups are endless. For the 3rd setup I'm going to show you, it wouldn't be if you were stuck with just this blanket. If you were stuck with just this blanket, there would be a certain way that you could do things. But when you have a folding saw, and when you have all that paracord at your disposal, the setups are just limitless. And especially if you've got plenty of trees around, plenty of logs laying around everywhere. So, and I'm doing this in live time to show you that if you are weak or tired or hungry, you can do this with ease. You don't have to worry about a whole bunch of complicated knots and things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find one big tree, and I'll show you how to set up the next one. All right, we got us a big old tree right here. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to set this up. We're going to fan it out. We're going to lean it against the tree. Now I'm just going to be real gentle with this thing. What you want to do, let's spread this out. Now what you want to do is you want to take some of the paracord, all right, from your handle. I didn't pull mine off. I have some in my pocket. Now what you want to do is you want to tie off your blanket up at the top, just like that. All right. See if this works. Now normally it works with a skinnier tree because these will cross over and you can tie them to the tree, but this big tree is blocking the sun, so I'm going to go with that. All right. Tighten that up a minute. All right, now what we're going to do, grab this paracord right here and feed it through. Excuse me, I'm still just a little bit sick. And then I'm going to tie this through here. All right. Now if you had trees that had some knots on them, you could just set that webbing on the knot. Now I'm not going to tie this up at the top. I'm just going to be real careful, but normally you would tie this up at the top. Now I've got the webbing supported at the top reasonably well. Now this won't be for rain at all or snow. This is just a nice way of sitting down. Okay? So what you're going to do is you've got these between here, and you're going to put your butt right here on the ground. And all you're going to do is lean back. Now this would be ideal if the sun was coming towards you, because if the sun was coming towards you, it would hit, and you've got these walls that are coming in, and the reflective qualities are literally beyond belief, because this is another one that I have experimented with. I've tested this thing. After I finished it, I tested it before I ever did this video. And with this setup, there's something about these walls and this that the sun, when you got the sun hitting, and I can't film that because it'll blind the camera, but this is just beyond belief, the heat in here that you can feel if you can't get a fire. Now, normally, like I say, you would tie the logs off to the tree, but I'm not going to be sitting here for so long, so I just wanted to set that up and show it to you. So, because that's just a really nice setup. I don't even know if I got the bottom of it. See, I've still got a glare. Yeah, I'll go sit in it one more time. I'll sit in it there just to make sure that you can see. And like I say, this ain't for snow or for rain. This is for if you're freezing and you just want a nice place to sit down and you don't want to put your butt on the wet ground and you want some free warmth coming from the sun, then this is the setup because of these walls. And if you ever go to make something like this, or if you ever want to glue some emergency blankets to a tarp and set it up with some webbing, test this. You'll be shocked. Direct sun, mind blower. All right, now let's get on with the other setup that uses this. All right, this is the part that is just about as bare bones survival, ugly, ugly, ugly survival as it can be. And that would be sleeping in leaves. Now, a lot of people, they often talk about debris huts, and they talk about how when you have a debris hut, you fill it full of leaves, you build a structure over it, and then you cover it with leaves, okay? First off, I would not recommend that during the summertime. For one thing, you're warm, it doesn't matter. But during the winter, there's not going to be any bugs in the leaves, okay? So you're good there. Now, laying in them, if they're dry, it's good. Scrape them up from all around an area that you can find, as far as you can get, and get the dry ones off top. Now, getting up leaves is work, but not as much work as a debris shelter. Anybody that's ever done a debris shelter knows that it's okay for playing and bushcrafting, but when you're in a bare bones survival situation, you just don't have the energy. Now, what you're going to do with this is that is your cover, okay? The logs are going to hold it down. That, my dear, is your shelter. And all you got to do is lift the log up and lay down and lay the log over the top of you. And that is your survival shelter. I wonder if you can still hear me. Let me show you another view of it. Now here's you another view of it, okay? It's got the two logs holding it down, and it's over a stack of leaves. And all you do is lift up one log and crawl in, and you're going to be nice and dry and nice and warm. And that's all there is to it. Nice and warm and nice and dry. You just got to make sure and not kick the leaves everywhere while you're doing it. Oh. Now, on with the final segment of our shelter. I absolutely love this place. I'm in what you call the flatwoods. Call it the flatwoods because there's no hills here. And there's not a lot of brush and debris like the other places I go to. Well, anyway, I have found the perfect trees. Perfect. The uprights, the long logs that were going through there, I thought I was going to have to get some longer ones because the longer ones have to lean against whatever trees that you select. Okay, so I have found the perfect trees. Now, the perfect tree is where the log will touch the trees like this, but the actual blanket will fit in between the trees, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this thing's set up. Since you have a folding saw on the bottom of the bag, what you want to do is you V out a couple of pieces, okay, just like this, okay, similar to whatever I use on my bed. And what you want to do with it is you want to shove both logs up against the tree, like so, just like that. Push that back. You want this log a few inches in front of the tree, just like that. And all you got to do, no cordage. You know, if you didn't have this or didn't have a saw, you could paracord this to the tree and just leave this on the ground. But I like doing it like this. Put that down there. And now what you have is sort of a version of a super shelter. Out in the front right here, you're going to have your fire. And all you do is you crawl inside and your body holds up the back of the shelter, okay? And your fire will be out front. And see, this is where this thing really excels. It's a super fast version of a super shelter. And if you had to, you could cover the front with plastic to get the full benefit of it. Now, I'm going to show you one other thing real quick before I get in. I'll give you a close-up view of it. Okay, I got you kind of a closer view of it. As you can see how all this is this is at an angle and I have the log right here holding this up, pushing it against the tree. Now once you lay in here, this is not going to move. It's not going to roll. And like I say, you'll have your fire out in front. You're going to have a long fire, and then you're going to lay in here. And you got to remember, once you're laying on the canvas. Go check my mic. You're laying on the canvas and you're laying on the Mylar, so you're not going to get dirty. You're not going to get wet. You're not going to get muddy. You're not going to get cold. And then you just roll your body back and feel the warmth from the fire coming in. Okay? No big deal. Now, one of the things about the wind, when you have a shelter like this with a long fire, you do not want the wind going this way because it'll blow smoke in you. And you don't want the wind going this way because when it hits your shelter and comes over, it's going to swirl and bring the smoke towards you. Okay? So when you set up something like this, you want the wind either going that way or this way. You want it parallel to your fire. A lot of people, they don't know how to determine wind direction, but the easiest way, lick your tongue and stick it out. And you can feel, you can feel the wind coming at you. And see, that way then you can lay right here and all the smoke will be blowing that direction or that direction, and you'll be good to go. All right, that's basically it. I think I have covered everything, and that is basically my rendition of the ultimate survival blanket. I made it. I'm not going to make any more. One's enough for me. It should last a lifetime. I have a few things to say here real quick at the end of the video, and I wished I could have said this earlier, but my friend's got a channel named MD Outdoor Reviews, okay? If you get a chance, go by there. He's having a big giveaway, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what it is, the proceeds are going to Mission 22, okay? That is a veteran suicide awareness charity, okay? So please go by, get in on his giveaway. I hope it's still going on while I'm telling you this, okay? Mike, Mike, you know who you are. Thank you so much for the sunglasses. I've never owned any good, polarized sunglasses as good as those. He gave me and Nick a pair of Filtrate polarized sunglasses, and I'm blown away. They're fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Now, one other thing I want to say real quick about comments, okay? Comments on my videos, okay? Everybody knows I answer all comments, okay? If I don't answer your comments, that means your settings are wrong, okay? And off and on, I've had a few people throughout time that I just can't answer their comments, but recently somebody's been commenting on just about every single video, and I can't reply to it. I can't even thumb it up. And I even got a message from this person, and I can't even answer the message. So here's the deal. Back when YouTube and Google Plus was separated, I don't know why, but the settings for comments are in Google Plus. They're not in YouTube. So, okay, if you know who you are, because you ain't got any answers from me. If you have a Google Plus page, and this includes everybody else, if nobody's ever replied to you, any YouTubers on any video, then your settings are wrong. Go to Google Plus and go to My Settings, and there's a place where it'll allow people to reply to your comments and your messages, okay? So I hope you can find it. I don't have a computer with me to show you. But basically, that's it. Because I like replying to everybody. That's one of the main reasons I am on YouTube. I don't have reasons like some of the other YouTubers. I am here to make friends, share information, learn information, and just in general, socialize with my fellow bushcrafters and campers. So, all right. Hope you enjoy the video. I'll be back with another one pretty soon. Hopefully the weather will hold out. Hopefully I'll hold out and I'm done being sick for the year. And I shall see you in the next one.